It's August 17th, folks, and I'm Drew Manley. I've been asked by a friend of mine to show you some of the herbal remedies, the old folk remedies. I'll go ahead and get a disclaimer out there right now because we're not saying that any of this will help anybody. But I will tell you that through a whole lifetime of experience, I've found many of these things right here in our very yard, which is where we're going to be today, can help us a whole lot with medical conditions and just good health in general. It's always said an apple a day keeps a doctor away, and don't ever forget that one, because our fruits and vegetables and things like that so high in antioxidants and give you the fiber and the roughage, to help keep your system cleaned out. Always good to keep a good diet, number one. And then when we need a little help from herbal remedies and stuff like that, even right here in my yard, we'll just take one short trip around and show you a few things that you might find very helpful. Come along today. Right here, folks, close to the edge of the yard, black walnut tree. Now, I don't use this anymore. That's got a strong smell to it. There's a few uses for black walnut besides it being a good shade tree, and the fruit of the nut is very good to eat if you've got time to bust it and pick it out. But also the hulls, can be used for a good dye. And when this turns black, green right now, but when this turns black, the husk or the hull of the nut itself can be used has a lot of antioxidant properties to it. And you see it's already turning dark now. A lot of people have taken this in capsule form with food, usually with food. All your herbal stuff taken, if it's going to be ingested, take it with food. It seems to help it some. But this helps people with acne problems, and that's your black walnut. And just real quickly, right here is a blueberry bush. Already shed its fruit this year, so we don't have any of the fruit to show. But if you're looking for something that's very good for you and high in antioxidants, which attributes to good general health, it is the blueberry. And I use them several different ways. Eat them raw, put them in cereal, put them in pancakes, put them in fruit juices or things like that. Smoothies is what I'm trying to say. Smoothies, and blueberry is very versatile, and you can make cakes and cookies and just all kinds of things. But ever how you get it, just get it. Right here's something a lot of people have in their yards around the United States and maybe overseas. I'm not sure about that. But also it's the peach tree. And you thought, well, what kind of herbal remedy can a peach tree bring to the table? Well, if you're having trouble sleeping, just about this amount of leaves right here would be good enough for you. But you would take about this amount right here, just a small handful of leaves, of peach leaves, put them in a piping hot cup of water, let them steep 10 minutes, take the leaves out, drink that down, and it's sleepy time. Now, if you're a person who is really having a lot of trouble with sleeping at night, then what you want to do is just skin some of the bark off of the tree. I'd say just about a quarter of a handful, a good quarter of a handful of this bark. This is not near enough, but I'd get 6 or 8, 10 pieces just like this of the bark and boil that down and then drink that, and surely you're going to go to sleep. And the first time I ever tried that, just experimenting with it, and I have tried it, is when I boiled that bark and I went to sleep in the bathroom trying to get ready for work. I was in the bathtub, went to sleep in the bathtub. So maybe it'll work for you. And that's the peach tree leaf if you have a minor case, and the peach tree bark if you have a more stubborn case for sleeping at night. The peach tree. Right here is a plant that's usually more of a nuisance than anything to anybody, but actually it has a lot of good uses. This is the blackberry plant, a blackberry briar. These leaves from a blackberry, you can pick these leaves off of that, just a good whopping handful, I'd say, and stuff those in a piping hot cup of water, and that'll make you a good tea. You can flavor it with a little honey if you'd like. It'll be high in iron and whatnot. But the most important thing about blackberry, even though we love to eat the berries and whatnot, is if you had diarrhea or suffering from dysentery, or children, even in third world countries, if they had this, they were suffering from diarrhea, the roots, you want to dig the roots up from the plant and then boil those down and take small swallows of that 2 or 3 times a day to stop that diarrhea. There are children in the world that would die that would be saved if they just had the blackberry plant. If you go out to some of the farms in the United States, especially in the old days, and I'm no expert on this, I don't know about now, but it worked then, so I'm fairly certain that they're still doing it. You'll see that part of the components of a diarrhea medicine that they give to horses or mules, about a third of that will be blackberry root. So if it's good for them, surely it'll stop a case that we have, the blackberry briar. All right, folks, and right here we have some watermelons that have grown off too fast this year. We had an influx of rain at one point, but watermelon, very good for you. I've got one here out of the refrigerator. Very good for you. Also for your urinary tract. Don't want to forget that watermelon and pumpkin seeds help that prostate, guys. And while you're at it, don't forget there's been some studies done that watermelon is good for male libido, and seems to be that there's some truth to that. And don't forget to eat, guys, the part that's closest to the rind right in here, the almost pink or right close to the green. That's the good part right there. And I always chew some of the seeds too and swallow that. And that's some good roughage, and if it's going to help with my prostate, then I don't mind eating some seeds. I eat about half of those, just chew them up and swallow them on down. Watermelon. And right here is a plant that I've transferred from the wild to my little rock garden here. This is wild ginger or heart leaf, and people have used heart leaf for various things, for stomach disorders and things like that. I don't use it. It's not one that I use, but I know back in the old days I had a friend that used to gather it and sell it to doctors, and I don't know exactly what they were using it for. I use it quite a bit, though, for just general purposes. Bad breath, you chew on that stem and you get a real strong, I'll let the cameraman try it here in a minute, real strong flavor in your mouth that is not unpleasant. But if you're going through the woods in the summertime, and here's maybe a better piece here, kind of shaped like a heart, that's why they call it heart leaf. Going through the woods in the summertime, you're out of breath, I love to take a leaf like this, crush it up in my hands, and cup my hands for a little bit, let the essence of that odor get out in the palms of my hand, and then get a deep sniff. Oh, can't tell you how refreshing that is. And I've been out in the woods on a hot day, and that just gives you like a good fresh breath air. Very, very pleasing too as it goes down. The heart leaf. Did I say it was? What we have right here is a good example of red sumac. Red sumac I've used quite a bit, and I like to gather the pods about this time of year all the way up through September and even October. And sometimes you can find them during the winter. It's getting a little late for you to use that though, but that is red sumac that grows all over the sides of our roads, and you see the red seed pod that is up there. What that is used for, what I use for, is high in vitamin C. You can just take it and eat it. I'll do that right now on the camera. But let me just slip up and get one of those seed pods. Now what I'm going to do with that, you can taste them. You'll see that, boy, very acidic. Good though. It's good. Your kids will like that, especially if let it mellow out just a little bit. That's a little strong. It's still young. But now, in the winter, as fall comes on, we start getting those old sore throats. This right here is a very, very good medicine. What you want to do, the same old rule of thumb, 1 cup of piping hot water, 1 pod of red sumac berries stuck down in that cup, 10 minutes, take that out, drink that down. Wouldn't hurt if you want to take some of those blackberry leaves and put in there too, or maybe a few pine needles. You can spice it up a little bit and make you some good drink for a sore throat. But if all you had was this, then that does the trick. It helps very much relieve some of that sore throat pain that you feel when you get those type sore throats. Pine needles, if you don't have anything else, usually you can find pine needles out here. and those work okay as well. But my favorite is red sumac pods. Now what we're looking at right here is a prickly ash. I'm just going to stay off the film for this one, if you can see. Also called the toothache tree. Now there's a deep little gorge there, and we can't really reach that particular tree. If we don't see another one, I'll just go ahead and tell you about it. You can go back to some of the old courthouse. Excuse if we had a little traffic interference there. You can go back to some of the old papers that are on file in your courthouses in rural America and see that prickly ash bitters for liver disorders and things like that were being used quite frequently back at the turn of the century of 1900. So we've done had another one since then. But that is a devil's walking stick, or prickly ash, or the toothache tree. They have skinned a piece of that bark, put it up beside a tooth that was aching and got some relief. It's not what I'm going to go for, but there is some evidence of that, and that's where that name came from. And the reason they call it devil's walking stick is once you get, if you grab a hold to that shaft of that plant, it's got just pricks all over it, very, very sharp barbs. And anyway, that's one that would be good to know. That is the prickly ash. This moss that's clinging to the side of this hill, a lot of times it'll grow on bluffs and whatnot around this area, but could be a very useful plant in survival for you back in the days of the Civil War here in the South, when bandages were very hard to come by. This type of moss, and I'll just take a small piece. I don't want to upset the environment here much, but you can see it's lightly green, very absorbent. If you, and as they did then, you could still today use this if you had a wound and didn't have any other type of bandage. Actually, this might be better than those because it's already got the chlorophyll in it, very absorbent, and they just press that to a wound and find some way to tie that around, and that was used quite frequently during the Civil War here in this area.